Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemmons, a doctor of chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are live right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas, on this Thursday, October 10th. Glad to be with you tonight. Hope you had a great day. We had a weird day at the Rock today. It was a bunch of people had other things to do besides get adjusted, so it was kind of a slow day around here. So, we take these days every once in a while to try to just catch our breath a little bit, especially after all the things we learned from those people in the blue zones over the last couple of days. So I hope all you guys out there are doing great. Hope you guys on the radio are listening to us and doing great out there. 98.7 Walk by Faith. All you guys that are listening to us on social media. I hit all my buttons tonight. Got everybody started at the same time. Got all my microphones on. I feel pretty I feel pretty good about this tonight. So it's good. And I think we're going to have a good show. Just got some random stuff for you tonight. And nothing's random in the universe. I know that. But just got lots of different thoughts. Had some good questions. Since we weren't so super busy, we had a little bit of time to visit today and had some good conversations with some people. And so, and plus there's just some thoughts that I have about some things that are going on, and then we've got a couple articles we can get to if we need to, but that's going to be the agenda for tonight. So if you've got a text question, if you have anything that you'd like for me to answer, 806-794-0400 is our text line. It's our office number. You can text us live now while we're on the show. You can text us later if you're listening to the show later. You can text us anytime. 806-794-0400, and that's our text number. You can send us a message on any of the social media pages, and I will try to get back to all of those messages for you if there's something that you have on your mind. And so, I was talking this morning in our workout class about, the content of this show, because, honestly, 5 nights a week, we're over a year now. We've been doing this. We're over 13 months. We've been doing it. I was just looking at the calendar there. Yeah. So after 13 months of doing this 5 nights a week, there's a lot of the stuff that's repetitive because it's not that complicated to be healthy, but it seems to be very complicated to get enough information that you feel good about it. And then there's so much conflicting information out there. And so it's hard to know exactly what you're supposed to listen to or who you're supposed to listen to, or does it even make any sense? Or I asked Brooke today, what are the young kids talking about, or what's going on out there in the world? And she mentioned animal-based diets. That's the big thing. It's a real popular subject now, which is really funny, right? Because we just spent the last 2 nights. For you guys that don't watch the show, or if you're new to the show, or if you didn't see this week's show, for the last 2 nights, what is this, Thursday? Yeah, Wednesday, Tuesday. Yeah, work backwards through the week. Try that. That'll make your brain work a little bit. We broke down the show on Netflix called Blue Zones, Living to 100, and we looked at all these different places and what they ate, and I want to, what some of the things we learned from them, and if you study the oldest living people on Earth, they're not plant animal based people. They're not. They eat a lot of vegetables, and they every single one of these groups. Okinawa, Japan was one of them, and I'm not going to get back into the Blue Zone deal, but I do want to touch on it a little bit. The Sardinia, Italy, Icaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California. Now, the Loma Linda people are completely plant-based people, and the rest of them are. What's really funny? Just kind of thinking about it right now, when you watch that show and you study what they learned from those people, the majority of the people in the show, they were not concerned. They were just living. They were just living and just eating and living. It just happened to be that the food that they ate was healthy because they didn't have access to all of the fast food stuff that we have today. That's one of the things they said in the Costa Rica one, how sad they were because they said, do you think your kids will grow up to be as healthy as what your grandparents are right now? And the lady that they asked that question to, she said, no, I don't think so, because look what they have access to. That all the fast food, and it just had hit. Kentucky Fried Chicken was there. The pizza places were there. The Burger Kings and the McDonald's and all that stuff was there. And then now all of a sudden it changed their whole thing. In any place, I've seen it. I've seen it in lots of studies. Every place that westernizes their diet gets sicker. That's been true. Japan's the same way. Japan is notorious for being thin people, except now all of a sudden they've westernized their diet and then they're getting sicker. China is going to do the same thing, all those places. So, but the big thing was those people didn't really. They were just eating and living. They just grew their food, so they had better food, and they made their own breads and tortillas, and they ate sourdough bread. Right, that was one of the things that was big. So what we talked about it a little bit when with Brooke and I when we were having this conversation, and she talked about what I mentioned was I'm not exactly sure if some of the things that we're seeing, um, we are in a new world, and look, I'm not I don't want to get political, but I think this may be true. That's exactly how you have to say it, too. I think this may be true. I'm not exactly sure. I have seen some things, and I don't know why I saw them. You may have seen them too, and it may be true. I don't know. But I've seen some things that 60 Minutes changed the um, answers that because they sat down with Vice President Harris and they asked her some questions and she answered them in a certain way, and then apparently they went back before they aired the show and they changed the dialogue. Now, this is a great example of what I'm talking about. I don't know if they did that or they didn't do that. I saw some posts that said they did it, but I'm not sure if they did it or they didn't do it. And the world we live in today is so full of that stuff. And if you're one of the people that if you're listening to us on the radio and you still have a radio, good for you. And if you listen to us on the radio and you're not a social media person, you don't have YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or any of the social media, Facebook, any of that stuff. You don't do any of that social media stuff. And you don't watch the news. You're probably relatively protected. Now, even us on the radio, we don't necessarily know if all the stuff that we report that's current is true. We just live in such a weird time now that it's when I look at Twitter these days or I look at Facebook, I look at it and almost all the articles that I look at now on any of those social media pages, I just default to that's probably not even real. Like I see all of these hurricane things what happened going on in North Carolina, and it's like towns washed away and all this stuff, and FEMA's not doing this, and people are dying and all this stuff. Maybe that's real. Maybe it's not real. I don't really know. I don't know and I can't trust anybody. If you can't trust the people on TV, the news journalists, to tell you the truth, who do you trust? Well, I think that some of that might be going on in where, like, these influencers that say one thing or another. Um, like all of a sudden, these people just show up and they've got all these followers and they're just telling you this is the way it's supposed to be, and or versus this is the way it's supposed to be, and it's like I don't know if those people are hired by, like, if they're an animal-based person, are they hired by the meat industry to create a site and just talk about eating meat all the time? If they're plant-based people, are they hired by the plant industry to great, like get some big following and go along with it and just say that stuff? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, and I don't even know how to get. I don't even know how to get the answer to that. To be quite honest with you, and so it makes it difficult for you and me both to try to figure out what is the truth. I read an article this week. I subscribed to Nature magazine for some reason, trying to get some kind of what's supposed to be objective, which it is not. And there's an article in here in Nature magazine that's talking about, well, they're pretty sure now that, or they have more evidence now that the virus came from the wet lab in around Wuhan, like wherever that they. I'm trying to look at it right here and see exactly what the article said. They're pretty sure that it was the wet market genomic data point. The virus started in Wuhan wet market, study says. Well, I've got all kinds of studies and research and all that stuff that talked about that virus coming from that Wuhan lab. I mean, we've got Senate hearings, and I've got books from different people, and all of them talked about the science and the whole thing and how it's all fit together. This comes from Nature saying, yeah, no, they're pretty sure it came from the lab. Well, it's like, okay, well, am I supposed to believe this article? Am I supposed to believe Senator Rand Paul's book? Am I supposed to believe RFK Jr.? Am I supposed to believe Judy Mikovits? Who am I supposed to believe? Like the vaccines. I was listening to our guy that we follow. That I always talk about, John Campbell. If you guys listen to John Campbell on YouTube, John Campbell, I think I subscribed to him, but he had an article this week talking about something that was published in Poland, I think. So yeah, Dr. John Campbell is the person, and about how the problems with how the vaccine started and our mRNA or whatever it's called type of vaccines. Like, really, it's like it's just difficult, right? It's difficult. So I think when I see something like when I see something like the blue zones, and I'm not trying to ramble on tonight, but when I see something like the blue zones, it's like, okay, I'm actually seeing pictures of 100-year-old people. I don't think the guy from the blue zones made that up. I think he actually did show these people, and you did show some of the things that they did, and that might be a good way to find out. And then it's probably not so important. I've got books that say to eat plants. I got books that say to not eat plants, just eat animals. What I think personally is two things: control your insulin and control your 6:3 ratio. If you could do those two things, if you can control your insulin by keeping your blood sugar under control and controlling your 6:3 ratio, those two things will probably get you down the road a long way. Now, you can be specific after that, but I think those two things are probably just as important as anything else that you could possibly do. So how do you control your insulin? You make sure that you eat complex carbohydrates, and the meat and vegetables the nuts and berries, the little bit of fruit, and no sugar. And I think you'll control it. Your eggs are in there, and I think you can control your insulin like that. If you control your insulin, you'll control your health, regardless of what you eat. But you can't eat refined carbohydrates that's going to cause you to make your blood sugar go up. I I had a really good conversation with a prized, uh, a very valuable person in our practice, and however you say that, we love him a lot, and we had some time today, so we had a little bit of time to visit, and I was talking to him about all the new brain stuff because he's kind of been running around the world and doing a lot of stuff, and they go on a lot of vacations and cruises and all that kind of thing. And so I was catching him up on all the things that we did. We did his right eye test today. We rescanned him with his right eye. We redid his reflex app, and then he was wanting to know the answers of what is this whole thing, right? And so I was talking to him about how the brain works, and firing up and to the right and over to the left, and and upper brain, lower brain, all those things we talked about with emotional brain and rational brain. And after I talked to him for a little while, he said, "Well, what causes the brain to fail and to get weak and fail?" You know, I was like, "Well, physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress." Like all of the things that we talk about, right? All of those things are things that it's like, yeah, high blood sugar. High blood sugar is one of them. You don't want your blood sugar to be high. Your brain needs blood sugar, but it needs it in low doses. You don't need massive brains. You don't want a lot of blood sugar. None of those people that lived to be 100, none of them had lifestyles that had high blood sugar. It's just one of the things. Have a purpose. Have a reason to get up. Have a work on something. That was a big conversation that we had because you could see the wheels turning in his head when we were having the conversation, and it was just kind of like, wow, that's interesting. So what do I do about it? I'm like, well, I've got a year's worth of shows that we do for you guys that are the OG people that are listening to this. You guys are like, well, I'll tell you what to do. If you guys would send it, you should be on the board of directors of the Rock Health and Wellness Center. All you guys that listen to our show on a regular basis, you should be a board of director or something, or a consultant. You could be a consultant to the show and to the people. I'll just give out your number, and you can coach them up on the things that they ought to be doing for their health. Because by now, I'm sure you original people, you good-hearted people that stick with us on this show, you guys are probably already figuring out, hey, there's some stuff that I could tell them. So, all right, that's enough of that. Let's move on. I had the question this week: why should a baby get adjusted? You guys ever thought about that? The OGs know it. Everybody else, why should a baby get adjusted? Why should anyone get adjusted? Number one, you have a nervous system. Number two, is interference in that nervous system. That's it. That's the only two reasons a person should get adjusted. They have a nervous system, and there's an interference in the nervous system. Your nervous system is not functioning properly. That's what you should get adjusted for. Now, when does your nervous system start developing? Well, not too long after that sperm and that egg meet, and those two things become one cell, and then about day 13 they start to differentiate, and then one of the very first thing that starts is that primitive streak, and that's the beginning of your spinal cord, and then your brain comes off of that. It's right from the beginning. So you're looking at 2 or 3 weeks after conception, you start getting a nervous system. And so when you're born, you got a nervous system, and you should get it checked. And if you get it checked, it will function better. And if it functions better, then the child will be healthier. That's factual. That's not an opinion. If your nervous system function better, you will be healthier. So that's why a baby should get adjusted. It's not the same. We were talking about today. We were talking about we were talking about the spandex girl that and from Florida that I'll tell the story. Uh, so you know my main man MJ in Roswell, Dr. Lewis, chiropractor extraordinaire, yes, man's man of all men, yes, love him to death. MJ and Kati in Roswell. So I'm sitting with MJ one day, and he's I think I might have told you this story, but he's sitting there and he's like he wanted to show me a video. He's like, Doc, look at this. And he shows me this video, and I look at his phone, and I start looking at this video, and it's this. She's a relatively good-looking chiropractor from Florida. I don't know her name or anything about her, but she's very fit, good-looking girl. She's adjusting, and she's adjusting in like whatever, like gym, like tights, like spandex or whatever pants. I don't know what you call them. I don't even know if spandex is a thing anymore, but like some Lululemon pants and a sports bra. And she's adjusting this other girl, and this other girl is wearing some sort of the same outfit, like workout shorts, tight workout shorts or something, and a sports bra. And and so I don't know what MJ's talking about. I don't have any idea why he's handed me this to look at. And he's like, Doc, look at that. And I was like, MJ, what are you trying to get me to look at? Like, what kind of channel am I watching right here? Like, there's like a girl adjusting another girl, and he was like, "No, you idiot!" He's like, "Look, they got the microphone right up against the table, and so you're hearing the pop, right?" Well, we got to talking about that today with one of our families we take care of. It's a mom and a dad and two little boys, and the little boys are maybe 4 and 1 or something like that, little guys, and we take care of them. And so I was talking. He was like, I adjusted the dad, and I was like, whew. And he was like, what? And I said, I don't think I could do that any better right there. Like that was about as perfect. We set his occiput, we adjusted his atlas, we moved to the other side, we adjusted his lower cervical, and it was butter. I mean, it was just great. And he said, well, I was trying to relax. I said, well, you did a good job. That was about as good as I could do right there. That was a sweet adjustment. And he said, Doc, you should probably put a microphone on the table so people could hear that. And you could put it on your channel or YouTube or something like that. I said, there's a lot of people that do that. And then I told him the story about the girls, and I had to make sure I said it properly because the two little guys were right there and his wife was right there. So I didn't want to say anything that sounded bad or whatever. So I told him the story. And then when they left, we decided that I should wear my spandex, and then we were going to put him in spandex, and then I'll adjust him. And then we'll put the microphone up underneath the table, and I'll adjust him, and he's like, oh yeah, and he just busted out laughing and left, and his wife was like, yeah, both of you guys need to wear your spandex so y'all can get adjusted. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be, I would get a lot of views. I'm sure there would be. We could probably get some attention if we did that. But no, to get back to it, you have a nervous system, you should get adjusted. And the youngest child that we've adjusted, I believe, is 7 hours old. And so if you've got kids that have problems, if you're going to wait till they have problems, but a lot of kids are colicky right off the bat. We get ear infections right off the bat, right? A lot of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff we get is because of the way we feed those children. But sometimes the birthing process can be traumatic. You can get, vacuum extraction or forceps or something like that puts a lot of stress on the cervical spine. And we've done lots of articles about the stress on the cervical spine. And so do we adjust them the same way that we adjust adults? Absolutely not. It's a very, very gentle, very soft um, um, adjustment. And we adjust a lot of kids at the Rock. So if you guys know of anybody that needs a kid, has a child that's not thriving, that might have some issues, or if you want to get your child adjusted because you want them to be healthier, then that is something. The reason that we adjust them is because they have a nervous system, not because they have back pain. Now, if they have back pain, they're not functioning properly, but that's not why we adjust kids. It's not why I adjusted a 7-hour-old baby. Um, that's not it. So we got about 30 seconds. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back. I've got some other things about working out and that I want to get to on the other side of the break. So if you got some questions, if you guys got comments, you want to talk to me tonight, send them to me, and we can talk about it. 806-794-0400 is our text, or you can send me a message on a social media platform, and I should be able to get it here tonight. So we'll be right back. You guys stick around with us. Yeah, if you're new watching the show, it's just your first time. Just for all you guys that are out there in social media land, um, we do a live radio show, and then and it has its own schedule, and I'm doing it off of a software here in the office, and so we have to take a break. We have a 26-minute segment, and then we have another 26-minute segment after the break that we talk about stuff, and so that's what we're doing right now is we're taking that little break. We don't have that obviously on the social media part, so we can talk about this for as long as we want to. Um, and that reminds me, so you guys hang loose because I want to grab a book I forgot to grab. So I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I know that's kind of strange, but I do want to get into this. I want to get into HIIT workouts here in a second, and I meant to grab my CrossFit manual, and because we're going to talk about that, the different type of exercise. And I think Greg Glassman, for you guys out there, if you guys don't know who that is, he's the one that created CrossFit. To me, I don't really think I've learned anything. I don't think I've learned more from anybody than I've learned from Greg Glassman about exercise. And I got a degree in exercise and sports science, so I think that says a little bit. But his philosophy that he has is great. You know, they ran him out of his company, which is not uncommon, but I've learned a lot from him. We're going to talk about that. Let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. This is Thursday, October 10th. We're live right here in Lubbock, Texas, and we're coming to you on 98.7 Walk by Faith and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation, and we're streaming all over the world. So if you got a question, send it to us, 806-794-0400. I'll be glad to answer it. I'll answer it later if you want me to, and not on air if that's something that you prefer. And but I wanted to talk a little bit about exercise, and I want to talk about exercise that and the different types of exercise. It's so interesting because once you study all of these longevity people, it's like they didn't do they didn't do CrossFit. Like it's like, okay, well, but I still think it's valid. Just because they didn't doesn't mean they might not be reaching the pinnacle either. Maybe 100 is not the pinnacle. Maybe 120 is the pinnacle. Maybe the capacity to do things. They're exercising, and that's good. But an exercise program, and the difference between the two is something that you could do at home. And what is high intensity interval training? HIIT. They call it HIIT workouts. And what is that? What does that mean? And you could just, if you just went to search it on the internet, high intensity interval training is a workout protocol that involves alternating short bursts of intense exercise with brief recovery periods until exhaustion. It typically lasts under 30 minutes and focuses on maximal effort, short rest periods, and triggering anaerobic energy pathways. And those that is something that I thought we'd start. We talked about a lot of food last week, and I thought we'd talk about some exercise stuff a little bit more this week, and then we got into the blue zones. And so, but in case you're wondering what it is, and then if you're doing it, you got to understand what is considered to be HIIT, right? Because what is high intensity mean? What would that actually be considered? And what are you trying to accomplish with it, right? So you want to get your heart rate up into that 80% of your target heart rate, and a heart rate. Let's take your age, and we'll go over this again. I know we've done this before, but we'll just do it again tonight, and then we'll talk about. I'll show you what we did today in the gym, and you can do this same type of thing if you want to. But let's say that you're 60 years old. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the math of this whole thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to go 220 minus your age. And that's going to give us real quickly, I did get a text and a question, and why are they called blue zones? And it was thank you for the question, and I'll answer that right quick. There was a doctor, Pez, P-E-S, in Icaria, Greece. I think he was in Greece. Might have been Sardinia, Italy. Where he was from, and that he was the one that was studying these communities that had high numbers of people living past 100. And so he would have on a map. He would have a map, and he would have the borders of the map or whatever. And then anytime he found a community that had high numbers of people living to be 100, he would just put a blue dot, in that community area. And then, he was using what the way they showed it. It looked to me like he was using like a felt tip pen. And so you know how a felt tip pen, if you put it on paper, it kind of bleeds a little bit. And then we'd find another community and he'd put a little dot, and then find another community and he'd put a little dot. And then that might like bleed into itself a little bit. And then where that would bleed into it would kind of look like it was a blue zone. It was like little dots of blue that bled through on ink on a piece of paper, and then there was like all of a sudden in this one particular place, you looked at the whole country, but in this one particular place there was a higher concentration of people living to 100. And so he's the one that called it, Dr. Pez from pretty sure, I don't remember. I think it was Sardinia, Italy. That, and I might have written it down yesterday, but that's where that came from. Yeah, it was Sardinia. It was Sardinia. Gianni Pez, Pez, in Sardinia, Italy. He's the one that did that. I wrote it down yesterday. So thank you for the question, but that is the answer to why they consider that a blue zone is the deal. And what I learned by going through this is that that's actually copyrighted now. So the guys that own Blue Zone LLC or whatever actually copyrighted that. So I want to make sure that I give them credit for it. They're the ones that call it that, and it means nothing else. It's not. It according to the Blue Zones show. Now again, that goes back to exactly what I was just talking about a while ago. That how do I know like if it's true? And I don't mean that in your question because I love you. But why? Like I don't know. They said it on the show, and when they said it on the show, I just took it for that they were telling me the truth, and that's why Blue Zones came up with. If it had some other kind of origin, I don't know about it. That's the answer to that one. That's just that we call them blue alerts, and we call them little blue-headed ladies. Gray hair. If you got gray hair, for some reason we don't want to call you a little gray-headed lady because that's insulting. So we call you a little blue-headed lady, or for some reason. I don't know what the origin of that is. You know what I did learn though, listening to my guy, and I don't even know his name, but I found some new history professor, and I'm listening to him doing his history lessons, and he's talking about the Arabs, and he talked about the Arabs were the ones that started the coffee industry, and they found these little beans, these coffee beans, and they took them to Yemen, and they planted them in this little village in Yemen called Mocha. I bet y'all didn't know that. That's where the coffee industry started. And there's your mocha right there. Comes from Mocha, Yemen, from the Arabs a long time ago. And that was the beginning of coffee. So if you were wondering why they call it mocha, that's where they call it from, Yemen. Okay, let's get back to that's just kind of a crazy night. Leslie is gone. Leslie and Caitlin and my mom, they all went to Fort Worth today. They're taking my mom for her 60th high school reunion, taking her to go see some of her old friends. And so I said, hey, we'll figure out. Mom wanted to go, so we said we'll figure out how to get you there. So they left them, and I got a bowl of soup waiting on me tonight that Leslie made before. Got big old zucchini and squash and sweet potatoes in it, and some hamburger meat. Rotel tomatoes are put in there. That comes from a can, so that's not the most healthy thing. And then some beans. Mix all that stuff together, and it's in the refrigerator. All I got to do is heat it up when I get home here in about 30 minutes. And so I'll be sitting there. I'll have to find me something cool to watch. Turn it on. Oh, it's Thursday. We got football tonight. What I don't even know who's playing. So man, I didn't even realize that. That made my day even better right there. Just turn it on. It's got me some Cowboy soup waiting on me, and then Thursday football. Let's see who we got in the NFL. 49ers and Seahawks. There you go. All you guys that aren't football fans, you don't understand the You don't understand why cool, why that's so cool. And then, nope, that is not. Let's see who we got. Um, I think there's a college game on at the same time, but sometimes my phone doesn't load very fast. Doesn't really matter. Coastal Carolina and James Madison are playing right now. UTEP and Western Kentucky are playing. MTSU, whoever that is, and Louisiana Tech. I think Louisiana Tech, that's probably Sonny Cumby out there, I think, if I remember right. So, yeah, so that's what we're going to do tonight. Check that out. Probably read something, see if I could get smarter, and watch a little football at the same time. All right, let's talk about HIT. Let's talk about that so that you guys can do this. 220 minus your age. 220 minus your age. You guys are 60 years old out there. What would be high intensity workout? 60. So 220 minus 60, and then times, let's say 85%. So that's 136 beats per minute. So 220 minus your age is 160, and then times 85%. That a target heart rate of 136. Now, a target heart rate of 136 is going to be really pretty easy to reach. Like, you're just not going to take a lot of effort for you to get to that level right there. So it's not like it's crazy working out. I mean, it's high. It's an intense workout, but there's a good chance that your heart rate's already about 80. Now, let me say this: you have to be careful with working out. If you're not used to working out, then you need to build up to it. You need to make sure that your time frames are down. You got to make sure that you're healthy enough to do a workout. That's very important. So don't just jump into it, every single person out there, and do something that's dangerous. But that's how you would do that, and you would say that's the heart rate that you're looking for a target. So what you're going to do is you're going to build yourself into something. What we did this morning is we worked for 5 rounds, and we did 30 seconds on and 15 seconds off. Now, when you do 30 seconds on, you should be able to explode. Pow! We want quick movements. We want intensity for 30 seconds. We want, like, get to the station and go, and then transition in the 15 seconds, get to the next station and go. So you want some quick movements in that 30-second round. And so we started with air squats, and then we did push-ups, and then we did dumbbell snatches, and then we did row or bike. I used to tell them which one they should do, row or bike, but I have figured out they have favorites and they want to do one or the other. And so I just tell them row or bike. It doesn't matter to me. And then we had a rest station. And that was, so 30 seconds and 15 seconds is 45 seconds. And so if you do 2 45 seconds, that's a minute and a half. And if you do 2 more 45 seconds, that's another minute and a half. So you add that together, and that's a 3-minute station with a rest period of 45 seconds. And you get, I mean, that's the total station, but you got the extra 15 seconds to transition to rest, and then you got the 45 seconds of rest. So you really got a minute of rest and 2 minutes and 45 seconds in work. So that was great. That was a great little workout. It's very simple. It's not hard to put together at all. You can put together a workout like that, and you just find your stations. And so we just set the clock. We started the clock. It's 3, 2, 1, go, and here we go. And And now you can take a fit athlete, or you can take an 81-year-old man. I had an 81-year-old and a 70, should be 78 tomorrow, and a 77 and a 40-something, 50-year-old guy, and a 60-year-old man, and a 58-year-old lady, and a 30-something-year-old guy. So just all kinds of different people doing that workout, and different fitness levels and different intensity levels, and so I could take anybody who's listening to this show, and I could plug you in, and you could do that workout right there. Anybody that's listening to this show, we could put you in and you could do that workout. And you say, well, I can't do a squat. And I said, I bet you can. Like, you can squat to a chair, you can squat to a bench, you can squat to a box. I could stand in front of you and hold your hands, and then you could squat down and touch the box and stand back up. You can do that. Well, I can't do it for 30 seconds. I bet you can. I bet you can squat down and then stand back up, and it might take you 10 seconds to do that, and you only would get 3 reps in that 30 seconds of time. That's not important. If that's the best you can do, and that's the most intensity you can do, then it works out just fine. You don't have to worry about that at all. And then, can you do a push-up? Yes. Well, I can't do a push-up. Well, do a modified push-up. Well, I can't do that. Can't get down on my knees. Okay, do push-ups on the wall. Do push-ups on the bench. Like, I could do a push-up right here on this table. I could just stand up and just start doing push-ups right here on the table. Lean against the table and do push-ups. If you can't do it right here, we could do it against the wall. I could stand behind you and keep your balance, and you could do it right there on the wall. That would be push-ups. Dumbbell snatch, you just have to take your hand and move your hand from your opposite shin and pick your hand up in the air. That's a snatch. You could do that with a can of beans. You could do it with a water bottle. You could just do it with air if you had to. And then we could work on the technique of it, and then get on the rower or the bike. And if you can't do that, you could walk. And you could do that for 30 seconds. So you could take anybody, or you could take a super fit person and put them in there. They'd be pounding those air squats out. Bam, 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 quickly, go quick, move quickly. And then what would happen is, if they did it with a high level of intensity, and you put, if they were too fit and that push-ups were too easy, then we could put a 45-pound weight on their back and let them do push-ups with that. We could put a vest on them and let them do push-ups with that. You could sit on, I could put a foot on their back, let them do push-ups like that, right? And then the snatches, they could pick out whatever weight they want to do with the snatch. And then the rower bike, I guarantee you, it doesn't matter how fit you are. You get 30 seconds on that Echo bike, full blast, you're going to be tired. But physiologically, that's why you can plug somebody into a workout like this, because it doesn't, you cannot go hard. It's about 1 minute. If you graph it out, this type of workout is a 3-minute workout that maxes at 1 minute. And so you go 30 seconds hard, you got 15 seconds to breathe in between the next round. And then you go 30 seconds hard, you got 15 seconds to breathe in between the next round. And if you're older, then it doesn't take as much exertion to get you into that 85% range. And you can do that 85% range. Now, I just listened to a podcast the other day on Dr. Huberman, and he was talking about really about 4 to 5 times a week of working out over time has been shown to be beneficial. If it's just 1 to 2 times per week of working out, it's not as beneficial. Now, you can do HIIT workouts 1 to 2 times a week, and then walk 1 to 2 times a week. You can do heavy lifting or heavier lifting on the other days. You can do some sort of activity on those other days, and then do your HIIT workouts 1 or 2 times a week. You don't have to do HIIT workouts every single day. Matter of fact, it's not necessarily recommended for you to do that every single day. But you could do that. You could do that type of workout 1 to 2 times a week, and then stay active. Do something. Do something. Go for a walk around the block. Do something. Do some push-ups at home or some sit-ups at home. Work in your garden. Do something that on those other days. And man, you're talking about some fundamentals. I was actually thinking that today I was actually thinking at one point that we ought to get together on this show and work through like a type 1 healthy person, a type 2 healthy person, type 3 healthy person, or a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 healthy person. And just say, okay, what would it take to be a level 1 healthy person? If all I wanted to do is just commit to being a level 1 healthy person, what would I actually have to do? And then we could make some criteria and say, look, if you just try to control your insulin and you just drank water and you just walked around the block and you just try to get some sleep, and that's all you did, like this, what are the fundamentals? Take your fish oil. Make sure your vitamin D's levels are right. Just fundamental stuff. Like, you don't even have to get into a HIIT workout. You could just do that. You might be a level 1 health person. I was really thinking about that today. How would you define it? Then I thought, when are you going to define it? And I thought, well, we should just define it on the radio. We should just, all of us that are, if you're still listening tonight, you're probably in the original gangster club right there. So you should, we could do this together, and you could send in your criteria that you think. But then there's other people that want to move up to the next level. And then there's other people that want to move up to the next level. They want to be a level 3 fitness person or a health person. And it's like, okay, now we're getting serious. Now you get up here in this level 3, level 4 level. I mean, now you're cutting out sugar. You're only eating complex carbohydrates. You're getting plenty, 8 hours of sleep a night. You've got social life going on. You're taking care of your business. You're doing a lot of stuff. Man, that you're up here in this other level of health. We might have to work on that. I might have to make myself a note and actually work on what it would take. Because one of the things that Greg Glassman always talks about is, he's actually got it right here in his manual when he talks about sickness, wellness, and fitness. So he would say sickness, and he puts it on like a graph, and he would say fitness over here, and then he would say wellness in the middle. And he would say it doesn't matter what metric that you have, if you're fit, in order for you to get sick, you got to follow the line back around. And so he blood pressure, body fat, bone density, triglycerides, high HDL cholesterol, any of those things, right? Muscle mass. We could take my triglycerides, for example. My triglycerides on our blood test that we just did this week, my triglycerides were 40. The reference range is they have to be below 150. Okay? So we could say that from a fitness standpoint, my triglycerides at 40, I'm in good shape right there. If I'm going to get sick, and that's my only metric was just to measure my triglycerides. If I'm going to get sick, and let's say sick is going to be over, we got to go up over 150. So let's say my triglycerides are 225. Well, then in order for me to get from 40 to 225, I got to go through the 150 mark, right? And that would be considered well, according to the metric. According to the metric, it says, hey, if you're below 150, then you're well. Okay, so, but the fitness part takes it to that other level over there. Now you get over here and you're like, wow. And resting heart rate. You could take resting heart rate, 72 beats per minute, resting heart rate. 90 beats per minute, 90 to 100 beats per minute, we might consider that person to be sick. That's not very healthy. So, what's a fitness person going to be? Shoot, these people over here are going to be 55 to 60 beats per minute in fitness. Their heart rates are going to be low in fitness. And then, in order for them to get to sickness, they got to go back through wellness. I thought that was a pretty cool illustration of why it would be important to keep yourself fit and how much better you would be, how much more leeway you would build in for yourself if you had yourself at that level. So that's just a thought of why you would want to do some exercise on a regular basis to work yourself through those levels. You can be well, and you can even be better than well, I think. Hey, that's all the time I got for you tonight. I hope you guys have a great evening. I'm going to go home and eat some soup and watch some football. And I will be back here tomorrow night at 6, and we'll talk about health some more. If there's anything I can answer for you, please send me a text. Otherwise, you guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.